Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our Mindset X Factor podcast. Today, I'm really excited because we have a wonderful guest joining us today. Her name is Heidi Denning. Hi, Heidi. How are you?
Hi, Raynor. I'm fabulous. Thank you. How about you?
No, doing fantastic. All the better to be able to speak with you today as well. So thank you so much for joining us and giving us of your time, your precious time. And we're very grateful. Just to give our viewers and our listeners a little bit of background on who you are. I know you're going to share a lot more about yourself as we get into this podcast, but just a little bit of background so that you guys can know who we're talking to today. So Heidi has been recognized globally as an empowering speaker, author, and educator for the private, public, and not-for-profit sectors. So you obviously keep yourself very busy.
Yeah.
In addition to this experience that you have, you've been featured on TV on channels such as Channel 9's Weekend Today, on SBS News. You've also been featured in books like Australia's Most Inspiring Health and Wellness Professionals, in magazines and newspapers, the Sydney Morning Herald, the Daily Telegraph, and Women's Day. You've also presented on stage with personalities such as Bernard Salt, Peter Baines, Mark McCrindle, Michelle Bridges, and many more. The list just keeps going on. Some of your accolades I was impressed to find. Some of your honors and awards are things like you won the winner of the best international keynote speaker in the Asia Pacific region. You've won Influential Business Woman Awards in 2020. You've won the Global Advisor IWBI Mental Health Policy Programs Design. And I mean, the list just keeps on going on and on and on. So I think it's safe to say we're in very experienced hands today. And I'm really excited to learn more from you, Heidi.
Thank you, Raynor.
So
Thank
thank
you.
you so much. Heidi, obviously I've given a little bit of background on who you are. Maybe I can ask you, because you're obviously very passionate about, specifically about resilience and professional resilience, as you've explained it to me before. Could I ask you to share with our viewers just what sort of set you onto this trajectory of what your passion is today, and give us a bit of that background, please?
Yes. Well, thank you for that intro, Raynor. I appreciate that. And it's so lovely to be on your podcast. I've very much enjoyed the episodes I've listened to. So thank you for sprinkling all your goodness around the world through this means as well. So my background is, I have this thing that, education changes lives. And so I've always worn different hats as an educator from the beginning of my career as a professional, when I was a secondary school teacher and I taught in the best and worst schools in Sydney, London, and Vanuatu. I then went on to have a business for 17 years that I started out of my stinky garage with $200 worth of secondhand equipment, and we actually went on to win awards around Australia. We had the highest retention rate for our clients and our customer and our staff. I was president of the Personal Training Council of New South Wales, on the board of Fitness New South Wales, and was able to sell that business 17 years later for the price and the terms that I asked for, which, as I was brought up in a family where entrepreneurship wasn't really a thing. My dad was a policeman. My mum was a teacher. I hadn't thought that I would do anything else in my life but be a teacher. But there was just this little thing. I don't know where it came from, but it just started me on this trajectory of business. And from there, I've had a number of different ones. And right now, of course, I am a keynote speaker. So I speak on stages around the world, and I've written a book that became an Amazon bestseller, and I do virtual programs for leaders who have dispersed teams. But to go back to the actual question is how does it all that tie into resilience? So people have said I'm a bit like a cat with nine lives. I seem to have had a few things that have gone on, from, I woke up one morning as a young girl. I was 11, to find that I had not any use. I couldn't use my legs. I couldn't walk. I couldn't feel them. The doctor said there was a 75% chance that I would never walk again. And, I was always a real sporty spice. I played tennis and I ran, and gymnastics, and I just won Sports Girl of the Year in my primary school. And it was a really hard knock. But 8 months later, I just kept to the plan. I did what I was told. I didn't give up. And mostly my parents didn't give up. More to the point, they just kept going. And that's how lucky I am to have had that type of support. I have been forced into a car with an AK-47 at my head. I've had to make the very last "I love you" goodbye phone call to my husband because a life-threatening tsunami was approaching. I was all alone just recently when a catastrophic earthquake hit in the Pacific, and probably the most telling and impactful moment of my life was a night where I was sound asleep. I was leading a team on a education trip, and we got caught up in some cultural conflict, and petrol bombs were thrown at our bungalows with the intention to burn us alive as we slept. And I suppose that night was the one where it's like, I hit rock bottom. Things unraveled for me pretty badly after that. Physically, from the injuries, professionally, I couldn't work for quite a long time due to the PTSD. Emotionally, my relationship, my finances suffered, obviously, because I've not been out of work. But I suppose what happened from that was, after hitting rock bottom, knowing that I was at a choice point there and then. I was the only one who could make the next choice, and I either had to make a choice of something that I would regret and my family and friends would suffer, or I had to start taking little micro steps towards digging myself out of that place and climbing back up and just doing one extra thing. And, I talk to people about this. I've got this little thing on the wall that says, dot, then dat. Do one thing, then do another thing. It only takes one smidgy little micro step to move yourself forward. And I think when we've hit rock bottom, or even on just a wobbly day that we're having at work, we get paralyzed, because that is one of the, our automatic responses to stress, the fight, flight, freeze, and we freeze and we don't know what to do. And we can't even get our brain to help us know what's next. And the brain just starts doing all these strange things. And that's why I've got that right there in front of me. So I was like, Heidi, do one thing. Even if that's just get off your chair and walk outside in some fresh air to get things moving again. It's just getting out of that paralysis.
Right.
So I've gone around in a circle a bit and probably told the end of the story before I even started the beginning, but it was that started this whole part of resilience, because we all have our petrol bomb moments, right? At work, everyone does. So what do we do when that happens? And how can we prepare ourselves, knowing that life throws things that we can't control at us?
Yeah, and I love what you said, is that, because I was busy thinking while you sharing all these stories, all these experiences that you've gone through. It's almost like, how much more can one person take, And it's inspiring. It's incredible that you've just kept moving, and you haven't allowed these experiences to sort of define you and to hold you back, and to essentially make you quit on life, as the expression goes.
Yeah.
And so I was
Yes.
sort of thinking, what is it that a person does to to get out of these experiences of being held back and wanting to give up and question why these things are happening, and perhaps feeling like a victim in these moments, and that the whole world is out to get me. I love what you said. You shared such a practical thing. Is one of the things that you do is that reminder that you have up on your wall is dot then dat,
Then
as you
that,
say,
yeah.
right?
Yes,
I think
stop
that's
then that.
wonderful, because
Yeah,
it's about not staying paralyzed in that moment and not
yeah,
allowing that moment to sort of conquer you as well.
yeah.
But it's just doing those little things, no matter how small or how big it is,
Mm,
that I think gives
mm,
you that confidence that you can keep moving forward, and that you can
yeah,
still do things, and there's
yes.
nothing wrong with you. And
No,
it's just those little moments that help it.
sure.
But I think perhaps getting into, as you said, is that you have these experiences at home and outside in the
Mm,
world. You have it in work, which I think is where your sort of passion is, in helping
yes.
professionals and people in this work life to keep moving forward and to stay resilient. So, what is it? What are the sort of ways? What are the things? What is your sort of advice to people on that, on how to be resilient, and perhaps more importantly, why is resilience so important for us?
Yeah, and I think it's important to talk about that. The word resilience, I think, especially since the pandemic, has been a word that's been overused. And,
Right.
there was a time there I was nearly like, I don't want to talk about resilience anymore because everyone's talking about resilience.
You
And then
want
it
to
was like,
sound like
well,
a parrot.
yeah, correct. And there was resilience experts popping up left, right, and center. Because someone stubbed their toe, and all of a sudden they've got over that, so they're resilient and can talk
Yeah,
about it. So,
the fly by
but
nights, as we say.
I. Uh, but I've come full circle because I know how important it is. But I do like a lot of work, a lot of talk around resilience is about this thing that you can bounce back, and I'm a great believer that if you have true resilience, you don't bounce back, and in fact, you don't want to bounce back, because when you go through adversity or challenges or a wobbly day or whatever it might be, something fundamentally changes actually on a cellular level within your body and your brain, and therefore you don't scientifically go back to where you were anyway, like from that kind of point of view. But
Right.
even,
Okay.
but to me, just from a leadership point of view, after there is challenges, or for a professional point of view, who wants to go back to the way they were? Like, don't we want to actually learn something from our experiences? Don't we want to actually take those insights and adapt them to our new world, our new situation, the next challenge that comes our way that we don't know what it is and we can't control? And we want to become more confident and capable because we've actually taken what we've learned from that experience. And to me, that is true resilience, being able to bounce forward, not back to the place that we once were. Who wants to do that? Not me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love that thought of not bouncing back, because that's sort of what the term is, to bounce back,
Yes.
and but to bounce forward. It just changes the perception and the mindset on how you look at
Mm,
resilience. And yeah, I just love that. And I guess at the end of the day, it's your choice whether to stay trapped in that
yes.
situation and in that
Yes.
pain and in that experience,
Yes.
or it's your choice to move forward and to be better and learn from it and to grow
Mm,
as an individual. At the end of the day, it's up to you. I think, talking, obviously it's a no-brainer as to which choice you should make. I think anyone
yeah.
listening would know what choice we would rather make. Obviously we want
Mm,
to grow, we want to become better, and those sorts
yeah.
of things. But I think in that moment, and you'd perhaps know better than most, is in those moments it's probably quite difficult to make those decisions.
Yeah.
Right?
It
It's
is.
probably it's like the easier said than done
For
scenario.
sure. for sure.
How does a person actually get that sort of mental fortitude to bounce forward, to get
Yeah.
out of that space? What would your be advice? Well, what would your advice be?
I would imagine that every person that's listening to this, Raynor, has gone through some kind of experience in their life which they really wish didn't happen to them. But they've got through it somehow, some way, maybe not in the way that they hoped, but they have. And I think, firstly, it is learning that we can do hard things. We can. And as a human race, we've adapted so much. And so we have the ability to adapt to a new environment, a new experience after adversity, after challenges. We do have it in us. We just have that choice whether we want to tap into it. That we come back to that choice point again, that, it's nearly like a blink of an eye decision when we've just had something bad happen. Or maybe, no, I shouldn't say that because it could be later. I mean, I think everyone is allowed to feel like a victim and feel like the world hates you and you're the like everything's too hard. Like we're allowed to feel that because sometimes that is the truth. And, you can sit with that, but you just don't want to sit with it forever. And reminding yourself that you've done something hard in the past is always a good thing, for one. But of course, you brought up a great point that when we are in a very vulnerable state from whatever has gone on, it's very difficult to make the right decisions about what's best for our life to bounce forward. Very, very difficult. And I think that's where discipline and good habits come in, because to start any good habits or routines or rituals or great disciplines in our life is nearly impossible to do when we are at rock bottom, or even when we're feeling like life's too hard. It's too hard to start it then. Very, very hard to start it then, which is why, with the knowledge that we all do have, that we are all going to experience difficult things. There are going to be challenges that we can't even imagine are going to happen to us in our lives. And I don't mean that in a Debbie Downer kind of way. It's just, it's just the truth. In business, there is different things. In Australia, we had 13 interest rate rises in like 18 months. And so no one could have predicted that. You could have done the best financial planning ever, but 13 interest rate rises it's nuts. So these things happen all the time in business. There's mergers and acquisitions. There's redundancies. There is financial distress, profit and loss statements that are not telling you what you really want to see. So we know competitors moving in, AI just changing everything. These things happen to us and we can't imagine them. So the important part is to acknowledge that and start doing things in preparation, knowing there's going to be some kind of petrol bomb moment in our lives. What are the things that we know help us? What are the disciplines we can put in place right now when times are good? Because you've got to do it when times are good, so that when things are really wobbly, as I say, you've already got things set up that you might not fall back into place really soon, but they're part of your life. And after the petrol bomb thing, when I finally dug myself out and then reflected on what was it that helped me and how can I not only start to do that these things as a discipline to prepare myself better for next time, but what are the things that will then be able to be taught to others? Because again, education changes lives. And if by me going through these experiences and being able to extract the learnings and share with others, I can help people. I mean, how lucky am I? And that's what I've done. And so I suppose I have a 5-part framework that I live by to help myself prepare. As you said, I didn't think I could have any other things go on. I really didn't. But then I find myself, on a little rock in the middle of the Pacific Ocean when the most catastrophic earthquake in history hits, and I'm there by myself. And that was pretty full on. But because I had the discipline already, I'd learnt from my past mistakes of not having it, I was able to dig myself out.
And it's so wonderful to hear that, Heidi. And I think, I mean, I'm just so inspired by you and by your stories and your experience and how you've worked through these things and your attitude towards it. I think it's just so wonderful to hear. And
Thank you.
I love the advice that you gave on creating these habits, these good habits, this discipline of doing these things every single day. So eventually they become part of our lives. That
Mm,
when inevitably these hard times come, as they always do, because that's part of life. That's we have
yeah,
to go through the refiner's fire, the to help us to grow in that. So you can either just be in denial and say, well, these things won't happen, or it's not really happening to me, and sort of run
yeah,
away from these challenges and these obstacles, or you can face them head on. And I think
mm,
these habits that you're doing as you're preparing for before these things happen creates that discipline, and you know what you have to do to work through it. But I think also it creates the confidence in yourself and the belief in yourself that you can make it through these things, that you've
yeah,
developed that capacity to deal with these things. And with,
mm,
as you said, is accepting that these things will happen and knowing that these things will happen, and
yeah,
also knowing that you will be able to make it through.
yeah.
You don't know how difficult it's going to be. You don't know exactly what's going to be thrown at you, of course,
No,
but you know you have the power and the ability to choose how you work through those situations. It's like, and you have no power over what's going to happen. You have no power when the earthquake's going to hit. You have no power when
no,
those people were going to throw the petrol bombs at your house. You have no power of when those inflation rates were
yeah,
rising, or the interest rates,
yeah.
excuse me, were rising. It's almost like when you're sailing on a boat, you have no power over the direction of the wind,
No,
right?
you do not.
All
No,
you do is you have power to set your sail according to the wind that is blowing. That's your choice.
yeah,
That's the power that you
yeah,
have.
correct.
You've you've done that many times. You've set your sail according to that wind, and it's
Mm,
taken you to a wonderful place, as you said, to a place where you're able to help people and to share your experiences with others. And for you find that very fulfilling, and it's
yeah,
just
I
a
do.
wonderful thing to hear. And I've mentioned many times to you just how inspired I am by your story. So thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Raynor.
sharing that. I think maybe before we close up, is there anything else, any last words of wisdom that you'd like to, that you think is important for our listeners to know?
Yeah, look, I mean, maybe I can give a very brief, just top level of the five things that I know are helpful, the disciplines that I put in place for this formula. I call
Please
it my
do.
strong resilience bucket formula. My whole thing is if people think of their resilience like a bucket, and when times are good, the bucket stays strong and sturdy, and we feel like we're on fire and everything's going well. But when those challenges come, little rusty holes start forming in our buckets. And
Yeah.
like we know, little rusty holes soon become big gaping holes, and all our professional strengths and capabilities start to flow out. So these five principles are the things that will keep our bucket strong so the rust doesn't form. If you can think of that as an analogy for those listening.
No, I
And
think
so they're
it's a
very,
not relatable analogy.
yeah, I mean, people talk I have like random people say to me face to face and via email and LinkedIn, when we saw you speak, and my bucket's feeling a bit rusty right now, or it was feeling rusty and I did the things and now it's better. So it's a memorable thing. But the five principles are, firstly, be still for 10 minutes a day. And I talk about, it's not about sitting on a mountain and saying, oh, it's not that. It's, it's just settling everything down, turning off your notifications. I use a stare, sit down, turn off tech, aim for 10, uh, uh, remind yourself it's important, and then enjoy doing nothing. So, it's just really easy. You don't have to make it complicated. This is really, and the beautiful thing about these frameworks is you can make it work for your own life. Number 2 is to find joy for 1 hour a week. Find joy. You know, we forget to put that into our calendar, that we love to play tennis or golf or cook up a storm for our families on a Sunday, or mentor the new emerging leader that's come into our company. Like, what are the things that bring us joy? Like, do those, because life's short. Find joy. Next one is to chill out. You know, take some time on the weekend. Have a day once a month to sleep in, stay in your gym jams, binge Netflix, whatever it could be. And if, you know, I say to people, perfection is a fairy tale. If you can't take a whole day, don't worry about it. Don't let it stop you.
Yeah.
Take a couple of hours, but dedicate it to chilling out. Live life. You know, put in your holidays, have the long weekends, look forward to things, because when you are working in a fast-paced business environment, which we all are really, where the reality is, if we don't have some breaks to look forward to, burnout can happen really quickly. And the fifth one, the final one, and the most important, if you don't do any of the first four, this one is the most crucial, and that is to connect more with people who bring a smile to your face and some warmth to your heart. Because when you are at your lowest and you're foul and you're not showering and you've got dirt under your fingernails and you're miserable, it's those beautiful connections that you've got in your life that you have dedicated time to put into nurturing that, because you love them, not because you've got a strategy behind it, but just connect more with good people, because they're the ones that'll help you when things are hard.
I love that, Heidi. I think all I can say is amen after that, because
Yeah.
I think it's just wonderful advice, and it's a wonderful framework, and it's a great way to go about living your life. And yeah, just thank you so much for that.
My
Obviously,
pleasure.
we're going to put your details on how people can contact you. You know, if they've really liked what you've shared, or they feel that they want to ask you more about it, we'll put your
Yeah.
details in the bio and the caption of this podcast episode. Because as you said, this is your passion. You want to help people. So
Yeah.
please, if
Yeah.
there's anyone out there listening to this, you can please get hold of Heidi through that. And please, if you liked what you heard today, please like and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. Share it with your friends as well. If you feel that there's someone that could benefit from what Heidi has shared with us today, because we all know someone that's going through a rough time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We all know
Yeah.
someone that needs a bit of an upliftment, and maybe you can be one of those people that you just shared, Heidi, being those rays of light, those
Yeah.
real, those moments of warmth, those connections to that person, and
Yeah.
that's a wonderful thing to
Oh,
be
yeah.
for someone
Yeah.
else.
It's
So
definitely. Yeah.
please share it with anyone you feel that could benefit from these wonderful wise words and advice that Heidi shared with us today. Heidi, just once again to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much
My
for
pleasure.
who you are, the person that you are, for um, not allowing those experiences, I guess, to define you. Although I guess that in some way they sort of have, but
Yeah,
to
they sort of
define
have,
you in a
actually.
positive way,
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
not to
You're
better
right.
you,
Yeah.
should I say, not to
Yeah.
better you, and to be able to share your light and to share your wisdom with the world. We are all better because of that, because of you, and for
Thank you,
what
Raynor.
you've shared. So thank you so much for that. We appreciate you, and stay safe there on your little rock there, and
Yeah.
hopefully
I
not
will.
too many earthquakes will be coming your way in the not too distant future. So
I hope not.
thank you
My
so much. We really appreciate you.
pleasure. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate that.